DVC Vikings Coach's Corner with your host, Jay Gima.
Hello, DVC Viking fans and everybody watching. My name is Jay Gima, and I'm here with the head coach of DVC Women's Soccer, Coach Mullins. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Jay. How are you?
I'm good. Good to hear. So, Coach, why don't you give us some background about yourself, who you are, how you ended up becoming a coach here at DVC, and then we can get into some questions about the team in the season.
All right. So my name is Colleen Mullins, and I've been coaching at DVC for a little over 20 years now. In officially my 20th season because of COVID. It really should be my 21st, but missed out last year. And prior to DVC, I was an assistant coach for the women's soccer team at Stanford. That's what brought me out to California. And then I went to school at the University of Maryland where I played soccer and lacrosse, and that's where I kind of started getting into coaching. My coaches there encouraged me to start doing some club coaching, and that's what kind of got me down the coaching path. And I got my degrees in kinesiology and had the good fortune to be around some really good mentor coaches that got me to where I am today.
I know about the Stanford parts. How did you end up going there? Then what made you come to DVC and coach community college?
So I had I'd finished up my eligibility at Maryland, and I was a student assistant. And they had, because I had to finish up, I'd changed my major 2 years in, so I had an extra semester to go to finish up my degree. And so they asked me to stay on as a student assistant. And that's when I was getting some more coaching experience. And I started interviewing for some different jobs. I interviewed at the Naval Academy, and I interviewed at Nebraska, University of Arkansas. I interviewed a bunch of different places. And then the Stanford position came up, and I came out for an interview, and 2 days later, I was, told I was offered an opportunity and could move to California if I wanted to. And so I jumped at it and had the really good fortune. So my first year there, the coach that hired me actually left after a year, but I wanted to stay in the Bay Area. I liked Stanford. I liked the Bay Area. I didn't want to have to go somewhere else. And so fortunately, the coaches that they hired in next wanted to keep me. And so I was able to work for them for another 4 years. And they were amazing coaches. So Steve Swanson, who continues to be the head women's soccer coach at UVA, he moved on to UVA after Stanford, and Bobby Clark, who had been the men's coach at Stanford for a number of years. And then he moved on to University of Notre Dame and recently retired from there. So I had some, at Maryland, I was coached by April Heinrichs, who was she was the player of the decade in the 1990s. And so I've just been really fortunate to have some really good people around me and, mentor me in coaching. And then with DVC, when I got to Stanford, like I said, I didn't want to leave the Bay Area. I found out about junior college athletics. It's very different in California than it is other parts of the country. The athletics here it's a very, it's a very organized situation, and there's just great competition. And so I started working on my master's degree, and again, kind of interviewed at some positions, and DVC opened up, and I happened to know a good friend of mine had been coaching at DVC, and she recommended me she didn't want the full-time position because she was pursuing another career. Junior college jobs they're kind of funny as far as they're very formal as far as the process. So it helped knowing people, but you still kind of got to go through this very formal process. But I was fortunate to be offered the job, and I've loved it ever since. So
we're going to switch over to the season part of it. So this team season so far has been a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Vikings have won a thriller against American River, and the team also had a couple of ties, like the one against Butte I saw on the 21st, and with some losses along the way. As a coach, how do you manage your team throughout the season when it's like up and down season?
Yeah, it's a great question. Managing emotions and like we did, like that was my talk at the end of the game on Friday is, the emotions that can happen within a week. I mean, we were so excited and proud of ourselves on Tuesday, and it was a very frustrating, disappointing loss on Friday. We knew we didn't perform to our potential, but we also learned a lot from it. We've been able to focus a lot in our training this week on some of the mistakes we were making in that game and trying to make sure we don't continue to make those. So as far as managing, the ups and downs, I think what I really try to get the players to focus in on are the things that they can control, and that's getting better, working on the areas that we need to to improve upon so we can be successful against some of these good teams in the Big Eight.
What's your mindset for each game you want your players to have, whether you know the team's like stacked and has a winning record or a team that may not be as good, but you still want them to win and got aggressive? What do you want your players to do based on before each game?
I'm a big believer of, you've got to focus on your responsibility, your role, your job, and your position, and worry about doing that to the best of your ability. And if every player who gets on the field does that, then you give your team a good chance to win. If you go out there and you win your battles, because ultimately soccer eventually comes down to those 1v1 situations, right? and who wins that. We start off with the shape and we play zone and all that, but ultimately it gets down to, are you getting beat by the attacker with the ball and they're getting shots on goal, or are you doing that to your opponent? That's ultimately what it comes down to. And so I'm not a big, I don't, obviously I want to win and I'm competitive, but I feel like, a focus on we have to win or it's all about winning. That focus takes away from performance, and to me, performing well, if you can perform consistently well, the wins will come. Okay. Right. But if all you're worried about is winning, and you do come up against a team that's just straight up better than you, then what's the point of trying, right? They're better than us. And so we're not going to win. So why would I play? But if you're always worried about, can I perform better than I did the last game? Can I make sure, that the mistakes I made last game, I don't make this game. And can that give me a better chance to win that battle in my 1v1 situations and to help my team be successful? And that gives to me, more hope in a situation where maybe you're outmatched, that if we each do our responsibilities, we got a chance as a team to get a result that day.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah. So with this up and down season, do you like to change your formations based on teams you play without getting too strategic into it? But do you like change formations like different 4-3-3 or 4-1-4-1?
Yeah, absolutely. We've played a couple different shapes this season, depending upon our opponent. But that, to me, that's an important characteristic of a good team, is being able to play a couple of different shapes.
And adjust, right?
Yeah, because if you can only play one way, then you can never adapt and problem solve and minimize areas where you may not be as strong, or maximize areas where you are strong. And I think this group has accepted that. I've had teams in the past that they don't want to play anything but a 4-3-3. And I was like, okay, well, that's not going to work against this team, so good luck. But clearly, teams, you're not willing to try something else. So
and if you won't adjust, teams will adjust to you.
Yeah, exactly. So, exactly. So I'm happy that this group has been open-minded, and they're a group that wants to learn. It's kind of fun in that sense.
You kind of touch on this a little bit, but on the days you don't have games, you have practices. So what's your approach during that practice? So obviously focus on each player and everything, what they need to do. But do you look forward to the next game and see how you can prepare, do you do stuff like that, or what do you do for each practice?
Yeah, when we're in season, it's very much about the next game, because we play 2 games a week. And so, almost every day that we're not playing games is kind of preparation for the next game. So typically, Monday would be a pregame training session, and we're kind of trying to get ready for the tactics for Tuesday's game. Wednesday would be a little bit of a recovery session, depending upon how the game went. We might try to get a little fitness in that day. And then Thursday is, preparing for the tactics for Friday. And we have Friday game, and then we allow them to recover over the weekends. So in season, it's almost every training session is kind of the tactics, the team focus for the next game. In the spring, we spend a lot more time on individual skill, individual athleticism, getting better as an athlete and as a soccer player, both physically and psychologically and tactically, understanding the game and all that.
Right. And so since, COVID has affected everybody this past year and a half, how has it affected DVC soccer? And what are some players you've seen over the past year and a half that have stepped up and really helped the team gel?
It's been interesting. Our team experienced a ton of turnover. So really, we only have one player from our 2019 season. Rachel Godinez is the only one from 2019, but was a freshman then and is completing her sophomore year. Clarissa Campos was on that team, but she had her ACL repaired that fall, so she never played in a game or anything like that. So she's really a freshman. Everybody else is brand new. Okay. Right. And then we have a few players that played with us during the pandemic, like trained with us during the pandemic.
Right.
So Crystal Saucedo and Jocelyn Villatoro, Josie Gonzalez. We have a few of them that have been training with us for a while, but this is their first season of actually having a game. So, and then we started off as a pretty small group in August. We only had like 14 initially in August, and then we continued to add numbers as school started, which was great. But then you're constantly trying to get people up to speed with the team, and I think that's kind of where we're still at as a program. Like we're still building and getting back to where we were. We were one of the fortunate programs where we were able to train on campus starting June of 2020. A lot of colleges didn't have that. And I think in some ways it almost worked against us, because they've been on campus just training. And a lot of people got burnt out. I know I'm a little bit burnt out right now. So I know if I'm a little bit burnt out, then I know some of these kids that have been doing this since, last fall are definitely burnt out too. But I think they've handled it really well. I think one thing that's really special about this group, despite all that I just said about people trickling in late and everything, they get along really well, and they're good people, and they enjoy spending time with each other. And so, I think there's been a lot of disappointment and sometimes even frustration, because I think they know at times that they could have done better. But at the same time, there's no finger pointing, there's no, grudges being held or things like. They kind of move forward well and move on to the next opportunity. And as a coach, that's really all you can kind of ask and expect of them, is to come and try to get better every day. And I would say for the most part, they really do try to do that. My hope is that a lot of them will stick around for a second season, will stick around for next year, and we can do, some really good work in the spring next year and summer, and have a really strong squad, next fall, with bringing in a new class of freshmen for that year, and really kind of working on all cylinders next year.
Right. Well, thank you for your time and everything. Appreciate it.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no problem.